Let's start with places that were merely uncomfortable and slowly work our way toward the stuff of nightmares. Throughout history, humans have had an incredible talent for settling in environments that seem actively designed to kill them. We're talking about places filled with poison, radiation, disease, starvation, violence, and sometimes all of the above at once. Some of these places were chosen out of desperation, others out of faith, greed, or blind optimism, but they all share one thing in common. People knew the risks and stayed anyway. And trust me, by the time we reach number 1, you'll start to wonder where courage ends and madness begins. Number 8. The Frozen Smoke City. Imagine a city where winter lasts 9 months and the air itself can poison you. This is Norilsk, one of the coldest and most polluted cities ever inhabited by humans. Norilsk was founded in the 1,930 seconds deep inside Siberia, not because it was livable, but because it sat on massive nickel deposits. Nickel meant weapons. Weapons meant survival for the Soviet state. And so people were sent here. Some voluntarily, many not. At first, the city was built by prisoners. They dug into frozen ground while temperatures dropped to minus 40 degrees Celsius. The sun disappeared for weeks at a time. And above them, smokestacks poured sulfur dioxide into the polar night. But it didn't stop there. Families were brought in. Children were born. Life continued, somehow. Snow turned yellow from pollution, lungs filled with toxins. Life expectancy dropped dramatically, yet people still went to work every morning. Listen closely, and you can almost hear it. Metal grinding, wind howling, a city breathing poison. Why was it so extreme? Because industry mattered more than human health. And the punchline? Turns out working yourself to death wasn't always a metaphor. Number 7. The city buried alive. A city that went from thriving to perfectly preserved in a single afternoon. This is Pompeii. In 79 AD, Pompeii was a lively Roman city. Markets buzzed. Taverns overflowed. Children played in the streets. And above it all loomed Mount Vesuvius, quiet, familiar, ignored. But before we get to that, let's talk about complacency. No one living in Pompeii truly understood volcanoes. Small tremors were normal. Smoke? Probably nothing. Then ash began to fall, slowly at first, almost politely. People hesitated. Some packed belongings. Others waited. After all, tomorrow would be normal, right? Here's where it gets worse. Darkness swallowed the city at noon. Superheated ash slammed into buildings. Doors were sealed shut. Lungs burned from the inside. Entire families were frozen in their final moments, preserved not by intention, but by catastrophe. Why was it so extreme? Because routine felt safer than instinct. And the lesson? Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can believe is that nothing will change tomorrow. Number 6. The island that eats civilizations. At first glance, this place looked like paradise. Green forests, fresh water, endless ocean. This was Easter Island, home to the Rapa Nui people. They arrived sometime around 1200 AD and began to thrive. They built villages, developed culture, and then they started building statues. Massive ones. Trees were cut down to transport the moai. More trees, then even more. But it didn't stop there. Forests vanished. So did birds, boats, food sources. Society fractured. Violence rose. Starvation followed. By the time Europeans arrived, they found a land stripped bare, giant stone faces staring out over a broken civilization. Why was it so extreme? Because collapse didn't come from nature, it came from human choices. The punchline? The statues survived longer than the system that built them. Number 5. The concrete coffin at sea. No trees, no soil, just concrete, surrounded by a merciless ocean. This is Hashima Island. In the early 20th century, Hashima became the most densely populated place on Earth. Coal was discovered beneath it, and profit demanded people live where humans shouldn't. Apartment blocks rose like stacked boxes. Children played on rooftops. Below them, miners descended into deadly shafts. But it didn't stop there. Typhoons slammed the island. Buildings cracked. Mines flooded. Sirens wailed as waves smashed the seawalls. And then almost overnight, it was abandoned. Why was it so extreme? Because profit outweighed safety. And the takeaway? Density doesn't mean security. Sometimes it just means nowhere to run. Number 4. The jungle that refused civilization. A stretch of land so deadly. Even modern highways gave up. This is the Darien Gap. For centuries, explorers, soldiers, and migrants tried to cross it. Most failed. Rain hammered endlessly. Mosquitoes carried disease. Paths vanished overnight. Here's where it gets worse. People became disoriented. Lawlessness thrived. Voices disappeared into the dark jungle, never to be heard again. Attempts to settle it were abandoned, again and again. Why was it so extreme? Nature, isolation, and human desperation combined. And the punchline? The jungle didn't need walls. It was the wall. Number 3. Life inside the death zone. A place where you could live, but radiation was quietly counting down your cells. This is Chernobyl. In 1986, a reactor exploded. Evacuation was delayed. People were told everything was fine. It wasn't. Invisible contamination spread through homes, schools, playgrounds. Geiger counters clicked like ticking clocks. But it didn't stop there. Some people came back. They farmed, raised families, lived normal lives in a place that wasn't safe. The city froze in time. Toys on floors, desks in classrooms, silence everywhere. Why was it so extreme? Human error, secrecy, and nuclear power. And the truth? The danger wasn't what you could see. It was what you couldn't. Number 2. The camp designed to kill. A place built not for living, but for systematic death. This was Auschwitz. Trains arrived daily. People were told to line up. Some were sent left, others right. False hope did the rest. Forced labor, starvation, terror, roll calls at dawn, silence afterward. Very few survived. Why was it so extreme? Because hatred was industrialized. And the punchline? If you can call it that, some places prove ideas can be just as lethal as weapons. Number 1. The island nuked for science. People lived here, knowing the sky itself would explode. This was Bikini Atoll. After World War II, islanders were told they'd be relocated temporarily for the good of mankind. Then the test began. Blinding white flashes, shock waves tearing across the sea, radiation soaking into the land. Dozens of nuclear explosions later, the islands were uninhabitable. The people never returned. Why was it so extreme? Cold War logic valued data over lives. And the final truth? They didn't just lose their homes. They lost their future. These places weren't just dangerous. They were warnings carved into history. They show us how fear, ambition, ignorance, and power can turn homes into hazards. And maybe that's why we're still drawn to these stories. Because they're real. Because humans survive them. Sometimes barely. So which place disturbed you the most? Which one would you never set foot in? And if you want a part 2, the most dangerous places humans still live today, you already know what to do. Because history doesn't stop repeating. It just changes locations.